Good morning. I'd like to call the Criminal Justice Committee meeting to order.
No.
And I'd like to have approval of the minutes for the prior committee meeting, please. Motion.
Okay,
You got a motion here.
Mr. Allen, you're not on this.
Oh, wait a second, no.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Mr. Diamond, thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much. Yeah.
Do I have a second? Mr. Leggett? I can't.
He's muted.
I'm sorry, the audio wasn't coming through well, Madam Chairman.
I'm just looking for a second, please, for approval of the minutes from the prior committee meeting.
Oh, I wasn't on the committee at the time, sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Driscoll?
Yeah.
Would you like to second the approval of the minutes?
Oh, yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you. The action agenda for this morning's meeting.
Shuffler, I'm sorry, can you just take a vote on the approval of the minutes, please?
Of course. All in favor of approval of the previous month's committee meetings? Say aye.
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 Abstain.
The action agenda and new business items for this meeting is age prosecution grant extension. I would like to introduce District Attorney Carousel and have him discuss this, please.
Great, thank you very much. This is, I'm going to call this good news. The age of prosecution grant is something that we've been receiving annually since I took office, and certainly before then. I don't know when it started, but as long as I can recall, we've been getting this. It's probably $38,000 a year of late. And I don't know, some members were here, I think in the fall when we were seeking to reapply. Well, I credit, or I say that coronavirus probably changed the plans, because what ended up happening is they didn't open up application. Instead, they sent us a notification saying we're extending you an additional 6 months, and we're resetting the timeline. So the timeline before used to be October 1st to September 30th. The new timeline, I believe, is going to be April 1st through March 31st. So without application, they want to give us additional monies to, which is what we anticipated. We just didn't anticipate it would happen this way. When you see in the agenda, the figure, the way they sent it, I included that, it's a letter from Jeffrey Bender, Division of Criminal Justice Services. What you're going to see is, please be advised that your award amount of $57,258, that's 3 paragraphs down, is contingent on availability of appropriations, which is, all of them say that. But that number, it's not a new 57,000. What they're doing is, the initial number was roughly 38,000. They're extending it 6 months, so they're adding about 19,000, which is what half a year would be. So it's just an extension at the same rate that we had before. So you're aware, in our budget, we had submitted these as anticipatory amounts. Of course, we anticipated a year number. So this is 6 months. And what our plan will be is to apply in a few months when application begins again. This grant money is not contingent on anything other than work. So we have attorneys assigned to the grant. It's for violent felonies and serious felonies. And as they prosecute those cases, they track hours and submit to BCJS. But there is no match or anything associated with that. So we're basically asking, can we receive this money through March 31st now at this point?
Thank you. Before the board, page 2, I do believe it is a request, a resolution request, form number 6, to amend the extended existing grant. Can I have somebody introduce this, please? Mr. Diamond, thank you. Seconded by Mr. Driscoll, thank you. Do we have any discussion in regards to this? Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to thank you, Jason, for including Exhibit A. It's really nice to see where that money and time and attention is going to. So,
Oh, great, you're welcome.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to have a roll call vote, please.
You need to say all in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay.
All in favor of resolution form number 6?
Aye.
Passed, thank you. Do you have any additional updates you'd like to share with us?
Yes, thank you. I thought I'd just give a brief update on where we are as the court system. And I gave you some attachments, but really our focus is, what I'm going to focus on is the criminal side of things. There is some discussion of civil aspects to it. Everyone here is aware that we've seen many executive orders issued since the pandemic. In conjunction with executive orders, we're also seeing administrative orders being issued by the court system. So those administrative orders can have an impact on the way courts are functioning. We were, up until I'd say mid-November, fully operational in a more normal way. We were going to courts, everything was working, our grand jury was operational. I was personally about to start a jury trial when everything changed. The numbers came up and they've modified the way courts work. When you look at those administrative orders, they kind of break it down into two segments. Our city and county courts are still, all our courts have the ability to operate. It's just the way they operate is different. City and county are permitted in person 1 day a week and virtual otherwise. So previously, city court, we might be in city court 4 days a week. Typically 5 days a week would be normal. Now we can't do it that way. So our days they can extend one long day and then we're doing virtual. County court, same thing. So the county court process in person is every week, but for example, we have actually court going on right now, it's just virtual. Where we really, I say the biggest impact is the inability to do jury trials. Jury trials were stopped in the spring, then they were restarted, and then by the time ours was to start, literally on the Friday before we were to pick a jury, they stopped it. The one thing that I want to point out that's been excellent, and I really want to give some thanks, is the grand jury. Our grand jurors are permitted to continue. The only way we were able to do that was working within this building, we talked to a lot of departments, and our judges have permitted us to use the Supreme Court room. It's the biggest courtroom in the building, as far as I can tell. And it permits, we have 23 people, a prosecutor, a stenographer, and witnesses. You're talking a lot of people in one room, 25 and sometimes more. Do that, and it's really thanks to the Office of Court Administration and the Supreme and county judges who are giving us access to that room. So that's been an absolute lifesaver. Our grand jurors have had to do extended work because if you read that, it may look a little confusing in that they aren't bringing in new panels. So what they've done is the old panel continues to serve. So they're serving indefinitely at this point. And I would like to say that to their credit, we've had a quorum every single week that we've had grand jury. So we're able to operate, we've adjusted. We are very fortunate to have transitioned to all digital files before the pandemic. And that allows us, I can work on a file anytime, day or night, as long as I have access to a computer. It's really made a huge difference. We can even now open files remotely. I don't have to be sitting at my desk to do it and waiting for paperwork to come in. I can do everything remotely. So we're operational. There's a backlog on trials. It's obviously concerning, but there's, everyone's being impacted, and that's probably, I'd say, the largest impact that this pandemic has had on our department. So I just thought I'd give you a brief update. Any questions on that?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you for that description on how you're handling these things. We've all adapted. Caseloads are things being done in a timely fashion compared to before, Jason?
Well, I would say the one place where it's not is we would have had trials. So trials are delayed. Otherwise, we're able to do everything. But there's some nuances to that. I thought a year ago, obviously we were just coming into bail reform and discovery reform. We knew that discovery reform was going to be a huge mountain to climb. And we were right, and it is. So that workload never stops. Every file that's created is the effort to create becomes more voluminous. It's just a challenge, but we're able to do it right now. Obviously, when things pick up, they just start throwing on those trials. It's a concern. I will say not all cases resolve in the same way. We had a hearing scheduled, for example, a felony hearing. The person's not in custody. Defense has to consent to a virtual hearing. They said, well, we don't consent. So the hearing's just delayed. So we have felony hearings in the hopper waiting. So we've got a lot of those things waiting. Fortunately, we have tons of work, so it's not a problem to stay busy. The discovery part we thought was going to be tough. It is tough. We're managing. I will say that in April, all state police troopers are supposed to be outfitted with body cameras. That's going to be a massive amount of data coming into the office. We already get false body cameras, which is a massive amount of data. I mean, imagine one case, 4 officers go to that scene. You might end up with, I've seen cases with just dozens of hours of video footage for one singular case. Now with state police joining in that, it's a lot of material. It's a lot to bring in, process, and turn out.
Thank you. And if I may follow up with that, Madam Chairwoman.
You may.
Thank you. Jason, in your office, you did a lot to get things electronically scanned and record keeping and all of that. Has that helped with the discovery as well, the infrastructure and staff you have for that?
I would say without the digital switch, would be impossible to do it. It's already, I don't want to say improper, it's extremely difficult currently. Without that, we just couldn't possibly do it. It's been the single most important transition from managing files that we could do. And as I said, it gives people that ability to work on a file anytime. I don't want to out any people, but I see when people are logging in, I see this particular person's logging in at 5:30 in the morning, they're home and they just get up and they log in and they do some work. And she's kind of the record holder for that. But no, that has been absolutely vital to us being able to do this. It's hard to imagine any other way. And I think that pretty much the whole state has made that transition. And what I would say is there's still a lot of adjustment. So for example, the state police is going to have their own process on how they provide videos to our office and to all offices. It's a statewide plan that they have. So when you're working with many police agencies, as we do, they all have, their unique way of handling things and getting data to us. So that'll just be another way. We can learn the way as long as we can get the information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions from the board? Hearing none, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Lehman for public comments. Do we have any this morning?
Good morning, Chairwoman Shepherd. We do not have any public comment at this time.
Thank you. Public comment. Hearing none, I'd like a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, see you.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work.